Go ahead and close your eyes if you can. Smoothing out your forehead. Relaxing the corners of your eyes and your mouth. Unclench your jaw. And rolling your shoulders away from your ears. We're going to collectively take a nice deep breath in, inhaling up through your nose. And exhale out the mouth, letting go. Another deep breath in, really filling up your lungs this time. Inhale through your nose. Going further and bigger than before, and exhale out the mouth, letting go. Go ahead and open your eyes if you closed them. Welcome back to Mindful Moves with me, your host, Daniela Jensch. It is lovely to be here in 2025 with you. I have so many exciting topics rolling off the top of my head, and I think that a big one that we are going to dive into, especially last week, I got a few messages regarding, this year and how to tackle it and the best way to do it. And a lot of people feeling a feeling of not being good enough or perceiving themselves that way and thinking that they're not good enough. And I felt really strongly, I had something else planned for this week, but I felt so strongly about this topic. So I'm going to dive right in and let's just take it one step back. Let's look at the title of this episode. We are going to speak about inferiority complex, right? So that's when you have feelings of unworthiness, you don't feel good enough. Maybe you've always perceived yourself not to be good enough. Now, this can show and display in many ways. A lot of people think that if you don't feel good enough, it means you're not confident and it means that you shy away from the world. It's not the only way that manifests, right? A lot of the time it can also be a super arrogant person or someone who is not a nice person because they are so deeply insecure that they put on this big act and this big mask to cover that, right? But those feelings of unworthiness, they sit with you. And like I've mentioned before, you are always with you. You can't escape that. You can't escape your thoughts. You can do a lot. You can distract yourself. You can stay super busy. You can jump from relationship to relationship. You can work your whole life away. You can clean until you, never even have a moment to sit down. There's so many ways to distract yourself. And a lot of the times, I know in my personal life, and I know friends, and I know people who've spoken to me about this, I think almost all of us, I want to say all of us, but the large majority, let's say, have at some point in their life, maybe it's not been a constant theme, but at some point have felt, I am not worthy or I am not good enough. And why this ties in so beautifully to nervous system regulation, and obviously in the last season I focused mainly on that. I'm so grateful to be able to tie it into this episode because I think a lot of the time we think that our brain is against us and we think that our thoughts are super negative, and they could be. You could have a very negative mindset. But I always say start from the bottom up, start from the body out. And a lot of the time we are going from the outside in. So a lot of the time when you don't feel confident or you don't feel worthy or you question your worth in work, in relationships, in anything that you do in the world, a lot of the time when you do that, you think that it's just your negative mindset. And like I said, it could be, but a high likelihood is that your nervous system could be dysregulated. Now, what does this look like on the outside? A dysregulated nervous system basically is when you're in fight, flight, freeze, or even fawn. Now, I speak about this a lot in the previous episode, and I will be sharing something really soon to go deeper into nervous systems, what it looks like when you're dysregulated, how to regulate yourself, and why it's so important. But to keep it super basic, it's basically your body's way of telling you and perceiving the world and making sure it points out threats to you and keep you safe, right? So our nervous system is doing a beautiful job of that. It's telling us, look, this is what I've perceived on the outside and I'm protecting you. Now, this survival mechanism and this instinct is beautiful when you are in a life-threatening situation. However, when you go through certain events, and when I say trauma, I don't just mean, a lot of people perceive it as something super, super bad happened to you. It can also be when you were between the ages of 0 and 7, and maybe you had a parent that was super hard on you, and whatever you did just wasn't good enough. And you shrunk yourself, you made yourself small. Your nervous system learned a pattern. It saw your father, for example, as someone who never had time for you or didn't see you worthy enough, didn't matter what you did or how you tried to interact with them. And your nervous system recognized this pattern and basically gave you a coping mechanism on how to survive through the world, right? Because that's what your nervous system does. It's trying to protect you, so it's trying to help you. However, we outgrow these phases. We get older, and unfortunately, sometimes the coping mechanisms or the patterns we learned in childhood carry through into your adulthood. Because you were protected by yourself as a kid, let's say by shrinking yourself down and being small, that insecurity that you could develop there could lead or come with into adulthood, let's say like that. And when that happens, it doesn't serve the purpose that it did when you were younger. And therefore it becomes redundant. And it's so important to recognize these patterns and where they are still serving in your life or not serving anymore. Because one thing is for sure in this world: change is the only constant, right? So if change is the only constant, it means we need to be continually changing as we go. There's this beautiful saying that says, if you're with someone for many, many, many years, a partner romantically, you will see 7 to 8 to 10 versions of this person. And that is so true, because we are constantly ebbing and flowing and changing. So what does this mean when it comes to feeling inferior? What does this mean to your nervous system? To put it in really simple terms, if you are able to regulate your nervous system, you might not be able to completely fix everything in your life, but it is my firm belief that it brings you at the very least, to a neutral. And if you are at neutral, it means that you can start looking at the world and perceiving the world and the people around you for what they truly are. Usually not a life-threatening threat. Usually when your nervous system is regulated, and this is what helped me in my personal life, I used to be so insecure. I used to think the world was against me. I used to think that everything that happened negatively was because I was unworthy, and this really seeped into my relationships. I would crave validation. I would want people and my partner to absolutely give me every bit of my worthiness. But as you would probably know by now, nobody can give that to you. The only person who can do that is you. The only person who can fill up your cup like that and really feel worthy is you. How many times have people given you compliments and you're like shy away and you look away and you don't take it in, even if they're true, because you don't believe it? If you have limiting beliefs and you don't believe that about yourself, it doesn't matter if people speak to you blue in their faces. You won't believe them. So it's really, really an inside job with all of this. It's super, super always linking to an inside job. So the key here is that if you learn how to regulate your nervous system, it is my firm belief that you will, in a much easier way, give yourself the best opportunity to start building. And I don't even want to use the word confidence yet. If you feel inferior and unworthy, the first thing we want to get to, the first milestone we want to get to, is neutral. I want you to not look at yourself with disdain. Some people look at themselves with disgust. Some people feel a lot of shame and guilt and think that they don't deserve to either be on this earth or do what they're doing or even just be in a loving relationship. And that is not a place we are ever going to stay at. Even if you have had that your entire life, I want you to know right now that you will not live there. You do not have to live there, and it is an active choice. The choice you can make is to look after, like I said, from the bottom up. Look after your body. And the best way, in my personal opinion, to do that is to regulate your nervous system. So regulating your nervous system, as I said, I've got tools and other resources that you could go deeper into, but let's just talk about one or two for now. My favorite one is breathing, self-regulating through breath. We can now, in our day and age, not say that we do not have enough access to tools and resources. YouTube is filled with breathwork classes. You are able to sit and capture your breath at any point. If something is important to you, if you want a different life, you will put in the work and you will put in the research and you will find time for it. A lot of people think that that means you have to do breath work every day. That is not the point. All I want you to do from this podcast on, if you take one thing from this episode, just start noticing your breath. That is all I want you to do. Notice your breath. See how deep you breathe. Are you a shallow breather? Are you breathing just on the top here of your lungs? That's why I start every episode off with 2 deep breaths. It is amazing to me how much a state can shift just by taking some breaths. If you are in a fiery argument or conflict of some sort, or in a meeting, or maybe in a social setting, and you're feeling super nervous, take some breaths. Go to the bathroom, take even deeper breaths. Whatever it may be, if you're sitting at your desk, fill your days and your moments up with more deep breathing. See if you can go all the way to the bottom of your lungs and start there, almost like where your diaphragm is, and then move up. See if you can keep your shoulders relaxed when you're breathing, so you're really using your lungs. A lot of us breathe and lift our shoulders up. We really want to breathe and extend out our diaphragm, then move into our lungs, and then exhale. Taking a moment to be present with your breath is a really quick and easy solution. You can't tell me that you don't have time. You could, even while you're listening to this podcast and this episode, just notice your breath. Instead of approaching things in a fix way, I need to fix this, I need to be better, because a lot of the time when we feel inferior, we are judging ourselves. And this is a big thing. I do not need you to go into your life and your day and judge yourself or shame yourself, for example, taking shallow breaths. It's okay. You just need to meet yourself wherever you're at. And from there, we can expand. And that's the beauty. But without the consciousness and without the awareness of where you're currently at, where do you think you're going to go? How do you think you're going to improve if you don't know where you currently stand? So leaving away the judgment, I love to remind people to practice non-judgment through this whole process of life. If you're listening to something like this, then it means that you want something different for yourself. But if you want something different for yourself, you have to start at acceptance. You have to accept where you are and who you are, and already give yourself the compassion that you deserve right now. And then you can move into the next state. If you approach things with meanness, judgment, especially if you're doing that to yourself, it'll take you much longer, and maybe you possibly won't ever get to a point of true growth and loving yourself. Because at the end of the day, if life is really just achieving things and ticking things off a list, then I don't know how worth it is, to be honest. But if life is about learning how to accept yourself, choosing better for yourself, meeting yourself where you are with no judgment, growing from that, growing from lessons, from people, from situations, then life is worth it in my eyes. If that's what life is about, which I believe it is, then that's perfect. Because then you have a constant cycle of learning and beautiful experiences to embrace. So just your breath, if we're talking about nervous system regulation, focusing on breath, what are things you can do? Get curious. Go and research breathwork techniques. How can I improve my breathing? Go on YouTube and say 10-minute breathwork session. Or if you want to feel amazing, do a 30-minute one. These are all tools at your disposal. If you're able to show up at work or at university or at school, or whatever you do in your free time, if you are working, for example, on a project, are you telling me that if your boss tells you to do a project, maybe you are the boss and you're currently doing a project, are you telling me you're going to go in blind? Or if you have a big business deal, are you going to do no research? Are you going to sit there and just be like, okay, let's see what happens? No. That deal will fall through. Such is life. And such is your health. So if you want something, if you want to change something, get curious. Do the research. If you would do that for a job, or if you do it for a boss, or you do it for your company, then my God, you should be doing that for yourself. Because you are the most important person in your life. And the only person who's going to look after you is you. Yes, we're going to have support systems. Not all of us, but if you're lucky enough to have good friends, good partners, a beautiful family, kind strangers around you, then you are very blessed. You are super, super blessed. But on top of that, the most important thing, again, from the ground up, is what you believe about yourself and that you are looking after yourself. So I urge you, number one, notice your breath. Number two, try out some breathwork techniques. See how it makes you feel. Become like a kid again and start experimenting, playing, seeing what your body responds, how your body responds. Another beautiful one, I'm just going to mention two now. So the first one, breath, and the second one, my absolute favorite, is just grounding, and especially in nature. You can even do the breathing combined with the grounding in nature. So if you went outside, let's say you live close to the ocean, going outside, sitting on the beach, being integrated into the earth, literally maybe just taking off your shoes and standing on the sand, sitting there for a moment and just connecting to the world around you. Maybe taking a nice deep breath in, maybe taking another one. When I want to slow down time in my life and bring my body back to a state of balance, I am outside and I am breathing and I am grounded. So if you can't go outside, fine. You have your lungs with you all the time, so I want you to focus on breathing. If you can go outside, which I hope you can, go outside and connect with nature again. Go look at some birds, listen to some birds, stand in the sand, go out into the forest, literally go stand on your grass if you have a yard. Anywhere that you can go, even if you just look outside, be there for a moment. Our days are so busy and they are filled with so much stimulus all the time. And the human brain wasn't designed to take in so much light, action, and constant busyness around us. And then you, on top of that, you put our laptops on our phones, or whatever it is you are busy with. And this is just so basic. It's so basic, and it's a lost art. And I think that that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because I'm not asking you to do something absolutely crazy and like out there and futuristic. I'm asking you to come back to yourself. I'm asking you to sit with yourself for a moment, just a moment in time. And these practices, it's not going to maybe happen after one time, but go and try it. And immediately afterwards, you will feel a shift in your state, especially if you're feeling anxious, chronically fatigued, overwhelmed, feeling depressed, feeling chronic symptoms. Maybe you have chronic pain, whatever it may be. You taking a moment to connect to your nervous system and tell yourself and teach your body again that you are safe and that there are no external threats is going to bring you back into a balanced state. And when you are in a better balanced state, so like I'm saying, starting with the body, then moving into the rest. We always want to try and analyze everything up here in our brains, and that's just not possible. You need to be in your body first. You need to feel safe in your body first, and then your brain can come in and activate. Because the thoughts that you are thinking when you are overwhelmed, anxious, and dysregulated are not the same thoughts that you're going to have when you are calm and regulated and at a state of balance. The thoughts you have when you are regulated are going to serve you tenfold more. They will be so valuable and beautiful and enlightening and give you all the answers truly that you are seeking, because all the answers are inside. And so if you prioritize just those things, noticing your breath, going out in nature, that tie of teaching yourself, and it could be 5 minutes a day, and we have 5 minutes a day. You can't tell me that nobody does. 5 minutes a day, regulating your nervous system, prioritizing regulating your nervous system will literally go hand in hand with feelings of worthiness. When your nervous system begins to feel safe, your body feels safe, you are not going to feel this deep inferiority complex anymore. And I know that it's a big wish and a big promise, but I truly believe it. I truly believe that when your body is in a state of homeostasis, your brain is going to be way more online. It's going to be connected to the rhythm of your body, and you are way better equipped to sit with those feelings of unworthiness. It's very difficult to tackle difficult emotions or process emotions and thoughts when your body is in a state of stress, because guess what? Your body is going to try and protect your body first. And feeling emotions is not high on the list. It's not. It's going to try and just keep you in survival and make sure you survive. We don't need to process emotions to survive, some would say. I would say that you need to. If you want to thrive in this world, you process your emotions, you sit with your patterns, and you think and you feel and you are present. I think that this is super, super important just to take a moment to reflect on. So if you are focusing, and I know that some people would think, why is she speaking about nervous system regulation when we are actually talking about inferiority complex? I'm going to be pretty direct and say your thoughts are not clear. Your thoughts are not, it's not like they're lying to you, but a lot of the time there's a lot of noise in our heads. And a lot of the time when you feel inferior or not good enough, it's very, very often that there's no evidence of that. But your brain will try and find evidence. And there'll be one thing that you did 3 years ago, and your brain will bring that up and say, see, remember when your boss told you that you are literally the worst employee there for being 5 minutes late? He's right. And you are the worst person ever. And you suck and you never do anything right. Your brain will remember that if it's in a state of dysregulation. So getting to a neutral is what we want, focusing on nervous system regulation, and then you can sit with the patterns. Do you see I would say the order in which you would go? Normally we would think, okay, inferiority complex, I need to sort out my life. I need to have more things. I need to be better. I need to do more. I'm telling you, you need to do less. You need to be slowing down. You need to be tapping into your nervous system. You need to be teaching your body that you are safe through breath, through grounding, through nature. Whatever yours is, there's many other tools, but those I would highlight. And once you learn how to do that, then you can sit with yourself and maybe have a journaling session or think a little bit about, you know what, do I actually believe that I'm unworthy, or did somebody or something in my life teach me that and I've just decided to hold on to that my entire life? And did you know that you can let go of belief systems and limiting beliefs? But you have to be aware of where they came from and if you still fully believe it. And if you are, and when you are aware of these, then you can let them go. You don't have to sit like this. You don't have to feel unworthy for the rest of your life. Because when you feel unworthy and inferior, you send out that message and you send that out into the universe and into your immediate environment. And that's why you'll maybe have a partner who treats you as such, like you're worthless, because that is the message you are sending out. So when you begin to believe even just a neutral position of, okay, I don't think I'm worthy, but I don't think I'm unworthy, and I don't think I'm inferior. I'm kind of just like there. That's already a great sign, because then whatever in your environment is around you, that will directly reflect and mirror back to you how you feel about yourself. So I urge you, again, it's a beautiful month. I love January. It's exciting. You have this feeling of newness, and I love when humans say to themselves, you know what, I can change my life overnight, and you can. You literally can start over at any point. So with the energy and the spirit of January, instead of trying to do more, let's do less. Let's sit with ourselves. Let's come back to a state of safety. And then let's teach ourselves. If you, unfortunately, it happens to a lot of us, somewhere along the lines, it could have been a caretaker or whatever, a situation, a traumatic experience that taught you that you're not good enough. It's not true. And you need to teach yourself the opposite. And when you can get to neutral, that means you can get even further, which is to a state of really believing in yourself. And when you believe in yourself, it doesn't matter who or what around you tells you otherwise. You don't believe it because you know that you are worthy and you know that you're good enough. So just remember, the light that you're constantly seeking outside of yourself is just waiting to be acknowledged within. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And I have some very big, exciting news that I'm going to be sharing next week in the episode. So stay tuned, and I am, sending you big love. Have a beautiful day.